If Olivier was building the voice of the robot, the next one is building the brain. He's coming from Switzerland. Before launching Flexion, he was at Nvidia for 7 years. I'll let you do the math, so between 2014 and 2022. I hope he had stock. Uh, I guess he doesn't need to work anymore. But we'll welcome on stage David, the CTO and the founder of Flexion, and the most Belgian VC I know, Alex from 20 VC. I was looking for you guys. Please welcome Alex and David.
So yeah, we're first going to do a small presentation to give a bit of context, and then we'll move on to the interview. So yeah, it's really nice to be here. I'm David, the CTO and co-founder of Flexion Robotics, and we are building the next generation of software for highly mobile and dexterous robots, and the goal is to make them ready for deployment in industrial settings like logistics and manufacturing. I mean, to motivate a little bit all of this, it's quite clear right now that more and more of these autonomous robots will be needed to perform menial and repetitive tasks. I mean, our population is aging, and there's just more jobs that people don't want to do anymore. And if you look a bit at the social media right now, you have all the reasons to be super optimistic about all of this. Right? So many robots will be deployed very soon. The autonomy is blowing up. But the reality behind all of this is a bit more sad. Most of the demos that you see are heavily handcrafted and teleoperated, so it's not really something that you can deploy today. And that's why you don't see them really out there. And how do they do this, actually? So they have these kind of teleoperation rigs where they collect massive amounts of data with a human really showing what to do. Then they train these big networks to really imitate what the human is doing. And we believe that this approach is fundamentally wrong. And the only way to really scale this up is to leverage massively parallel simulation and synthetic data, so you have really kind of an infinite source of data. This is roughly what it looks like. You can put kind of these robots in these super nice gyms, like virtual gyms, almost like a game engine, and you let them kind of figure out by themselves what to do with reinforcement learning. And around this concept, we kind of built our whole stack, and this is what it looks like right now. We call this Reflect. So on the left, you have mission control that decides what to do, and this is a vision language model that we fine-tune with supervised fine-tuning and reinforcement learning. So from a general task prompt of what the mission should be, this is kind of a user text that is given to the agent, it will kind of break it down into really a longer horizon mission with sub-steps that need to be achieved. This is then given to the motion generator that gets kind of these text prompts and then generates plausible motions from like 1 to 5 seconds into the future. So from what to do to how to do it. And then the last layer is really executing it in the real world. So really the whole body tracker that we do. So the right is kind of, the analogy is at a company, down the management line, this is the poor employee that actually has to do the work. This is what it looks like. This was kind of a video that is quite outdated now from last year, but you have the robot that is standing there. It just gets the user prompt. You tell it, go pick up the toys that you can see in front of you and like put them into the bin. And it kind of just executes. Can do these whole body movements to pick up the toys, and then we'll complete the task. And remember, all of this was trained purely in simulation, and then you deploy this zero shot on the robot, and it works by magic. So it's actually quite complex, the whole things you need to do behind the scenes, of course, but this is the idea of it. Of course, we are a Swiss company based in Zurich, so we had to bring it to the Swiss Alps to also kind of validate the whole stack, that it works kind of in these harsher environments, super slippery. GPS signal is often bad, as you also know with your phones. And right now we reached our latest milestone a few weeks ago. This is really the Reflect system that we were building upon into a much longer horizon task. And this is actually a demo that we're going to release in the next couple of days. So I highly recommend everyone to subscribe, follow Flexion on LinkedIn and on X. And there will be a more detailed blog post about what is the whole science behind all of this to make it happen. So this is really the three components working together on board, and the robot is kind of really ready to accomplish work in the real world. And yeah, kind of the vision is that with Reflect, we'll be able to have a big impact on the industry, and these are the ones that we're targeting right now. We are starting POCs with many of the big manufacturers in Europe in kind of these domains, so warehousing, retail, manufacturing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David. Amazing videos, I love them. I would love to come back to a couple of the core assumptions that you guys are building Flexion on. I think there are 3 of them on what the future of robotics is. The first one is the form factor.
Yeah.
You guys are very bullish on humanoid being the best form factor to have a wide adoption of robotics in the world. Why is it the case?
Yeah, so when we're talking about humanoid robots, we don't necessarily mean that it has to have the form that you see here. It can also be a platform that is on wheels. But for us, as long as it can move around in the world and interact with it, so it needs to have hands, dexterous hands, it needs to have arms, and can carry some form of payloads, this is good enough for us. So we see it really as a solution that you can very easily deploy fast when a customer comes to you and has a task that you need to solve. Yeah.
Okay, so velocity is important. Are there other criteria that where humanoid robots overperform versus very specialized form factors?
Well, I would say, yeah, mostly speed and cost. Yeah. Then very quickly you will find yourself, for every task you will need to specialize the robot, so it's kind of a really slow process. But then on top of that, also if you have legs, for example, then you can solve much more. The reach that the robot has is much bigger, right? In lots of the warehouses these days, even at Amazon, right, there's still humans that are involved in the process. But the funny thing is we also visited one of these centers. They also have to walk in stairs. So you'd think these are perfectly flat environments, but very quickly you find these edge cases as well where kind of wheeled platforms could get stuck. Yeah.
Okay, so it's speed, cost, versatility, you could say. Okay, so that's assumption number 1 that you guys are building on. The second one is that we need a robot brain that is independent from the hardware. So when we look at the robotics markets, we see people that are very specialized, in the hardware, Unitary being the postal child of that. We do see people that are building with a vertically integrated approach where they do the hardware, they do the software, they do the foundation models. And the bet that you guys are taking is that there is space for a brain operating system that is independent from these 2 types of companies. Can you explain why do you think we need that brain and why this brain needs to be independent?
Yeah. So the way we see it is that the market that is being unlocked right now is enormous. So first of all, there won't necessarily be a single kind of player that will dominate it all. The way we see it is there will be many manufacturers of humanoid robots out there, and our goal is really to try to target these and kind of get a portion of kind of these manufacturers that run the Flexion stack. And if we do so, it will be very easy for us to scale nicer and actually even faster than what these more vertically integrated manufacturers can do. Because, right, you will have different types of humanoid robots depending on the task. For one task, one will be more suitable because it has different end effectors and everything. And us, we can then just go and choose what will be now the best morphology for the specific task. While for a vertically integrated manufacturer, they are more stuck kind of in the models that they have, so the progress will be a bit slower there, I expect, yeah.
And if I'm a 1X or like a Tesla Optimus, what should I work? Why should I work like with Flexion today, in 2 years, in 10 years?
I think they should work with us because we really, really focus on this brain. This is the core competency that we're building, and from the stack that we're building, we'll be able to really show progress faster than these companies that need to handle also the whole cycles with the hardware. So it's now, for me, just a matter of time until this happens. We already see this happening today. So there's a couple of humanoid robotics manufacturers that are already deploying our software. It's super cool to always see videos on LinkedIn with big announcements, and we know it's actually our software running behind the scenes.
Very cool. And the last assumption that we touch on during your presentation is the decision to base your technology on simulations when most of the companies are like building on teleoperations. Would love to dig into that. First, maybe you can explain the two approaches to the audience, and then share why you decided to go for simulation.
Yeah. So maybe I can walk through a bit the process of what would the process look like in the future with the teleoperation path. So you have the customer that comes to you with a particular task that the robot needs to solve. The first thing that these people will have to do is collect some data on the particular task. So first, either you replicate the whole setup that you have in-house, which is very costly, or you stop the production line, if it's like a manufacturer, to actually bring the robots in there and kind of teleoperate on the particular task that the robot needs to solve. This is a slow and tedious process. It's really like you have these gloves that track the robot. You need to see what the robot is doing, so it's a bit of an awkward setup. We're also playing a lot with it, of course, to educate ourselves about the problem. Then you collect this massive amount of data. You have to be super careful about what are the initial conditions to not quickly get out of distribution with your data, because then the robot wouldn't know what to do with this data. For a task to reach acceptable success rates, you probably need, depending on the difficulty, hundreds to thousands of hours of data, so for each task. Then you come in and then you train what you call a vision language action model based on this data with supervised learning. It's kind of a vision language model with kind of an action head that tells the robot what to do. This is then not good enough. So on top of it, at deployment, you then have to do a reinforcement learning loop on top to make it faster and more reliable. And then whenever something changes, like you change the end effectors, all of this data you need to recollect. In simulation, it's different. The cost is a bit more upfront. So the customer comes to us with the task. We will go there and do a scan of the environment and create a digital twin of the location. We will then kind of forge this task in the simulator, and this is probably the more costly part of the whole process. Then we are building the whole pipeline to convert this task definition from the customer to a reinforcement learning training loop with minimal human involvement, and then it basically outputs the neural network that has been trained, and then we deploy it on the robot.
Okay, so this is like for simulation. Okay, so we've gone through like these three like core assumptions, and now if we think about like the next decade for like robotics and then Flexion more specifically, I think like people have a couple of questions around this category. The first one that like comes to mind is will we see a sort of a ChatGPT moment or something like what we saw with the AI coding at the beginning of the year, where we'll have like a step function in terms of like technological development that will lead to like mass deployments? Yes or no? And if yes, when do you expect that to happen?
Yeah. So I think, if you compare this, with the ChatGPT moment, natural language processing is something that is hard, But in my opinion, compared to really like more the physical AI, this is super easy. And that is the crux of the problem, right? If you look more like at a robot, how it operates, you have many different sensor streams that come to the robot, cameras, point clouds, joint states. All of these are kind of noisy, have delays. They even come at different frequencies. So it's really a massive challenge to figure out kind of, there's like no universal token of robotics. That's kind of, I would say, in a nutshell, what is the problem there. Then there's a data gap. So it's not like I can go on the internet and download a data set of my robot doing the particular task at the customer location. This is something that you need to collect. And our main way we see that is the most scalable is, yeah, let's just collect this data in simulation and make it more synthetic, so it's kind of more cost effective at the end of the day. Yeah, so these are kind of the limitations. Also, it's a bit unforgiving. Any mistake you do while deploying is kind of really compounding way more. If you do a misstep, you lose balance, and then you fall off very quickly. How to overcome this? More data, so really trying to figure out how to unlock this. Teleoperation people also work heavily on this. There's now so many data vendors that have popped out in the last years. I get at least 10 emails a day from people wanting to send me their data. So this is kind of roughly getting there, also with simulation becoming better. Better architectures, like how can we, like in these more transformer-based architectures, how can we really incorporate more these like 3D type of data? And then towards more the frontier research, how can we still use kind of these YouTube-style videos where you have people doing tasks to kind of train the network, at least in pre-training, what is the anatomy of a task and how to solve it. So lots of R&D.
Okay. And in terms of timeline, how do you think about it?
Yeah, this is in terms of timeline, you mean timeline to have kind of the first deployments out there, or?
Yeah, timeline to first deployment. So you mentioned in your presentation like a couple of use cases that you guys are exploring, POCs that you're doing with the manufacturing companies and in other sectors. When do you expect your first robot in production with the return on investment that makes sense for your customer?
I think it's going to take a couple of years to see really the first deployments that make money, but it's not necessarily going to be more than 5 years. A few bottlenecks. First of all, the hardware itself is not there yet. It's not reliable enough. As an example, these dexterous hands, this is, as people say in robotics, at least as complex as the robot itself. And they break very easily. For example, for us, we have to buy a new pair of hands every 2 weeks. This is evolving very rapidly, though, right? With massive
there are companies
advances.
just focused on hands, which is crazy when you think about it.
But this is evolving very rapidly from China, and this is where I'm more confident about. Yeah, it's really solving this physical AI problem, the intelligence layer of the robot, but also doing so in a cost-effective and in a timely manner. It shouldn't be the case that a customer has to wait 6 months to get kind of your product, right?
And you mentioned China. It's an interesting one, especially like for us investors. When we look at robotics company, we're like, what's the point to invest in a robotics company that is not like based out of China when we see how ahead they are on that topic and in manufacturing in general? So what is the space, what are like the subcategories in robotics in which we can play in Europe and in the US compared to China?
I think China has already won the hardware war on this side because they have all the supply chains in place there, so it's going to be very, very hard to compete there. And I see it more on the AI side where the competition will be rude. I mean, I don't know how many people know this in this room, but in China there's a state mandate to push forward humanoid robotics and physical AI. So they have clear targets and subsidies to really push forward this vision that they have. And this is, I think, something that is a bit more missing in the West, where kind of governments need to understand that this is kind of a key thing to now have a look at, and also try to push forward kind of such agendas. Yeah.
And is it worth to try to compete on the hardware side, or should we just focus on AI? And maybe like the other subcategory that is interesting is everything around like system integration.
I think it's still worth doing this. I can see a lot of use cases where Chinese hardware won't be allowed.
Yeah, defense being
also,
one.
if you look in the news every day, right, in the US, all of a sudden, no Chinese robots are allowed anymore, like the Unitrees have been banned from the market, all these kind of things. So for sure, you need some form of sovereign solution there where you can just take, for example, a European hardware to actually deploy it, I don't know, in hospitals, even military, for example.
Okay. And if we, what is like Flexion in 10 years, if everything goes right?
Yeah, if everything goes right, our goal is to have our software deployed on more than 1 million robots.
1 million?
More than 1 million. It's like the lower bounds. And this, of course, beyond kind of the technical challenges we faced is, as for every startup, right, infinitely many good strategic decisions that we need to make, because this is kind of really an industry that doesn't exist yet. So it's also our role to try to shape it, right? What should be the right partnerships with the OEM? But also a bit of luck is involved, right, that you choose the right ones to partner with. How does the whole process look like? Do you involve the integrators? How do you involve them? How do you make it easy for them? So all these more strategic decisions that we also need to balance in the right way.
And is there like one use case for humanoid robots that you're like very bullish on and that no one like thinks about? Most of the use cases that people think about are in logistics, Amazon warehouses, or like in manufacturing, around like production lines. Are there like others that you're a bit obsessed about and that people don't talk about?
To be honest, these days I'm really obsessed with moving boxes around. I think about boxes all the time, and it's crazy the number of boxes that are being moved around every day. It's a huge market. This is the biggest obsession. Also, how you do all this kind of manipulation around these boxes, right? Kitting, opening, like doing all these sorts of manipulation tasks. You also see some people, like, I don't know, 1X, for example, trying to focus a bit also on household. This is something that, for me, is kind of a no-no right now, because, I mean, you do not want to have like a 60-kilogram metal piece next to your toddler walking around in the house. I don't know, for obvious reasons, but yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the moving boxes company.
Thanks.